While cold winter winds whip outside, we're going to stay in here and talk about color trends in the garden, as well as looking at some ways to keep those pesky critters from eating beautiful flowers like these. It all starts right after this. Hi, I'm Alan Smith. Welcome to my studio. You know, today we're going to talk about some very exciting new plants that have horticulturists across the country really raving. I know it's cold outside, but you know, there's nothing like these gorgeous flowers to inspire us this time of year. In fact, I just had these sent to me from a greenhouse in California, and you better believe they'll warm us up. We'll also talk about solutions in the garden. Maybe now with the rain and winter precipitation, you're noticing some areas of erosion in your garden. We'll address that. Plus deer, rabbit, squirrels, cute in nature, but not so cute in your garden. A humane and environmentally friendly solution coming up. I don't know about you, but I enjoy seeing what other gardeners have done in their gardens, and recently caught up with some folks who had their gardens on tour for an International Master Gardener Conference. We'll visit one of these gardens, plus enjoy a great recipe, all coming up in this edition of P. Alan Smith Gardens, so stay with us. Do you have any idea what this is? No, it's not bed linens, but you're close. It's called a frost blanket, and it's been a real lifesaver in my garden. As the weather turns from chilly to downright cold, I can put one of these over my lettuce, my broccoli, and other spring vegetables and get a few more weeks out of them. Now, these blankets have another advantage, which we'll go into a little later in the show. But I also want to talk about another great problem solver for the garden, and it's this landscape fabric. You may have used it before. It's excellent for keeping weeds out of your flower beds. But since I've been involved in creating this environmentally green garden and home, I've used this product in some other ways, specifically for erosion control. Recently, I was fortunate to have Jim Davis from DuPont, the manufacturers of this material, out to the Garden Home Retreat. As we were taking a tour of the place, I pointed out to Jim a spot where this filter fabric was helping to hold some valuable topsoil in place. Jim, come in here. I want to show you what we're doing. We've had a problem with the soil washing, and this is an area where I really want to get some of my, well, interesting shrubs I'm trialing in this space.
Part of what this fabric will do is it'll just help prevent the energy of surface water from eroding and washing out your soil. You want the soil here for the benefit of your plants.
You better believe it. What's handy about this is that, and you know this, but it comes in these 50-foot rolls and they're 3 feet wide, and so I can just roll them out at 3-foot intervals, these stretches of fabric, and it really goes down very easily, and we just pin them in, as you can see here.
That pin will help hold that fabric in place, and then of course ultimately you're going to cover this with mulch.
Yeah.
The mulch helps to really finish off the bed to give it a nice polished look, but it's about protecting the fabric also. You don't want constant exposure to sunlight here, because over time UV rays will tend to break down the fabric.
Break it down, right. You know, what's great about this for me is that it's a problem solver. I mean, this is a big garden.
Yep.
You know, there's a lot of potential weeds coming up, and we're going to have some weeds.
Sure.
But what I'm trying to do is figure out how can I handle the lion's share of the problems.
You bet.
And by putting this down now, and it's taken a little extra time to get it in place, but then we don't have to worry about it.
That's right, and it's a huge time saver. You know, a little bit of effort up front to get it installed,
right.
But you enjoy the benefit of not having all those weeds coming up in your garden.
And I have to say, and it's back to the weed control issue again, you know, our paths here, we use the fabric, we put it down first and then put the gravel on top to help cut down on weeds. And I know we're going to have a few things come up, but again, it's trying to control the majority of what's going to potentially come up. Well, one of the things I have been impressed by, and again, it's sort of a testament to what you guys do at DuPont, you got a 15-year warranty on this stuff. It'll last, it's at that length of a lifetime.
Yeah, and these are very, very durable products. The only way this is really going to degrade is by constant exposure to sunlight over time. And I don't mean in a short period of time, but constant exposure will eventually cause the fabric to degrade. So as long as you keep it covered, it'll last 15 years for sure.
Now, another way we're using the filter fabric to help with erosion control is using it to wrap the pipes in our French drains. Earlier I mentioned the use of these frost blankets for, well, keeping your vegetables all snug when cold weather rolls in. But there's actually another application that can work if you live in an area where deer can be a nuisance. I first saw this being done in the mountain areas of the central coast of California. Organic farmer Peter Eichhorn showed me how he was covering his row crops with frost blankets to prevent the deer from eating everything. It was such a good idea that I've tried it at my garden home retreat, and it really seems to work. So during Jim Davis's visit, I asked him about frost blankets being used as pest prevention, and he says they're getting reports of this being successful all around the country. Now, speaking of preventing animals from eating up your produce, we've got another environmentally friendly solution that's a safe alternative coming up. And next, be inspired by the latest colors for the garden. A trip to sunny California right after the break. I feel so fortunate having these gorgeous flowers in my workshop. Here we are rolling into winter, and I have this variety called Intensia Cabernet Phlox in full bloom. It's just amazing what they can do in a greenhouse. In fact, I was recently in Southern California where I had the opportunity to meet up with Nicole Jackson of Euro-American Propagators, and she told us about the trends they're seeing when it comes to plants used in the garden.
One of the major trends I think that you see in the West is that we have smaller living spaces, and we're looking for ways to maximize those spaces with high impact gardens or container gardens. Some of the types of plants that really work well in drought tolerant situations, there's lots of ornamental grasses, there's also agaves and different succulents like echeverias and aloes and sedums, things that really work well in low water use situations. Other things that I think we're seeing in the West is that women are busy. You know, gardeners are looking for product that is ready to use, and she doesn't necessarily have time to wait for it to go from seed and then plant it up in seed packs and then looking at 3 months later having a beautiful container. She wants the beautiful container now. She wants to be able to put this on her patio, in her entryway. Monochromatic containers are definitely a new trend that we're seeing. We're looking at this container here where you've got all pink themes. And so we have Babylon verbena, this is deep pink, and then this is Melon Symphony osteospermum. We've got Ozothamnus, which is a really cool plant from Australia. This one's Ozothamnus rose, makes a great cut flower too. And then Nemesia, this is Sensatia raspberry, and that's another nice upright component in the back. And so you've got the Babylon's going to kind of spill over the front, and then some mounding, some thrillers. But just monochromatic is a very easy way to start container gardening.
Euro-American setting was a wonderful place to daydream about what I want my garden to look like when spring rolls around. In fact, once cold weather blows in, I get all of my work done in the garden, well, most of the work done in the garden. I like to sit back and think about what next year is going to look like, thumbing through catalogs, getting ideas, and sketching out what I might plant in containers or raised beds. But what I don't like to think about are how to keep pests out of the garden. So after the break, we'll take a look at another problem solver, an environmentally friendly and safe solution for keeping rabbits, deer, and other pests at bay. Scaevola, or fanflower, took the gardening world by storm back in the 1990s, and for good reason. It's a pretty bloom with a tough disposition. You see, it's a native of Australia. It's a plant that I always recommend for gardeners interested in drought tolerance and low maintenance. New Wonder produces blue-purple, fan-shaped flowers with a bright yellow eye on the trailing stems. More colorful plants can be found at plandsmith.com. You know, I hear this complaint all the time from coast to coast. The deer are eating my blank, the deer are eating my blank. Just fill in the blank. In my garden, the deer love my lettuce, and what I don't want is for my garden to become a salad bar for the deer. And then squirrels. They love to dig up bulbs, they love to dig up plants and bury things under them. These are cute little pests, but hey, I would rather them stay out of my garden. I asked James Messina of Messina Wildlife Management to stop by the Garden Home Retreat to tell us about his environmentally friendly solution. What's amazing today in this country that you didn't see 50 years ago is so much wildlife habitat depleted.
Yeah, and it's forcing them into our homes, our backyards, whether it's, mice in the basement, deer in your garden, rabbits in the, in your front porch area.
Yeah, or deer in my orchard.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, if you look behind, you can even see there's really nothing 5 feet and under. I don't know if you know or not, but a deer will actually eat about 8 pounds of foliage a day.
I knew it was a lot. I didn't know it was that much.
Well, and when you factor in their growing numbers because of lack of predators and because of the food source that they're consuming, you're looking at a healthy herd of about 20 deer per square mile versus actual herds up near 80 to 100 in most of the country.
Really? What do you think it is here? In
this area, you're looking at probably between 50 to 60 deer per square mile. Northern New Jersey, about 120. Austin, Texas, about 130. If you were to draw a line between Austin and New Jersey, that's the red zone. Spread it out, and that's where all the deer are.
I've been watching them come up from the woodland edge here into this orchard, and I know they've been spying these little crab apples.
Oh, sure.
My intention here is to plant this out in a variety of heritage apples, and I think at some point I will be having to deal with the deer. So James, if you think about the scale of this, it would really just be prohibitive for me to try to come in and put a deer fence around this entire space.
Yeah, I mean, a traditional deer fence, you're looking at something that not only is going to be prohibitive because of the size of the material, but the costs involved in moving it. Whereas we have a deer barrier ribbon that uses our repellent to actually do the work for you. So you can put up something that's about 4 cents a linear foot.
Now, what about applying the solution onto the trees themselves?
Sure, if you want to go that route, I know you're very concerned about organics, as are we as a company. So we work within the guidelines of the EPA as well as the Organic Material Review Institute. All of our formulas are certified organic and would be easy to use in a situation like this.
Well, a year ago I planted these crab apples as pollinators, and then this year we're planting about 17 different varieties of heritage apples, and I really don't like the idea of sharing all of the fruit with the deer.
Yeah, hopefully next year you'll be eating the apples and not them.
That's the idea. Yep. Earlier this year, I had a chance to have a group of international master gardeners out here to the property. As I met with folks, I was especially inspired by some of the dedicated retirees who give their time and service to this organization. Bob and Joyce Bumgardner both decided to become master gardeners after they retired. They've transformed their garden into a shady retreat. Bob and Joyce reflect back on how their garden got started and share some of the tips they've learned from their experiences.
Well, we moved here 27 years ago. Joyce especially, even more than me, wanted to make sure that we kept all of the native plants that were already in the yard.
And we really did move some ferns from another area, the wild ferns. And I planted them in the back even before we moved into the house. We were that excited about getting started. When we first moved here, you couldn't find books or really much interest in it, in what we have here now of just greenery. Now I think it's very popular to have this type of garden.
Before I retired, when I would come home at night and it'd be like in the summertime 90 degrees and just pull into the carport and walk into the backyard, and it's just like getting into another world.
When you retire, you definitely need something that you're interested in, and Master Gardeners is very, there are a lot of people that enjoy it.
If you're a fan of pizza, and who isn't, you're going to love this recipe. Chef Scott McGee of Zaza Pizza Company demonstrates how to make this appealing recipe that your entire family will enjoy. Now it's time for that tasty and fresh from the garden recipe that will have your friends and family wanting more.
There's an awesome new trend in the United States that you're seeing all over the place. It's thin crust Italian-style wood oven pizza. The one we're going to make today is pizza giardiniera, which is garden pizza. And what's so great about it is you take really amazing garden fresh vegetables and simply put it on a pizza. Now this pizza is baked in a 700-degree wood-burning oven, but you could easily do this in your own oven with a pizza stone. Now let's get to making this here. I've got some really incredible Tipo 00 flour here, Italian flour, and we're going to make a real thin pizza crust. On this pizza crust, we're going to put lots of really incredible garden vegetables. I'm going to start with caramelized onions. We're just going to smatter them about. A little bit of good high-quality mozzarella cheese. And there is no sauce on this pizza. It's just focusing once again on the garden vegetables. Then we're going to put a little bit of goat cheese. This is really good Zephyr squash and patty pan squash, just a few little pieces here and there. I'm going to put some marjoram. Marjoram is very similar to oregano, but maybe a little bit more perfumey. A little salt, pepper, and garlic. And then I'm going to put a few capers on here. And you know what's great about this pizza is you can pretty much put anything on here, whatever is at your farmer's market. At this point, we're going to throw the oven, a pizza in a 700-degree wood-burning oven. Now I've got a little semolina underneath the dough here so it won't stick to my pizza paddle. Then we're going to put it right into the 700-degree oven. Now that pizza only took about 90 seconds to bake. Now at home, if you're doing it on a pizza stone, it might take about 5 minutes. But in a wood-burning oven, 700 to 800 degrees, 90 seconds, maybe 2 minutes at the most. We're going to garnish this pizza now with some arugula and some cherry tomatoes and a little bit of Parmigiano, high-quality Parmigiano Reggiano. And I like a little bit of good olive oil on this pizza as well. America is finally discovering thin crust Napoli-style pizza. It's fresh, it's healthy, it's delicious, and you can get all the ingredients right at your own home garden.
In this garden I dream of a bed of flowers. Bluebirds sing of the beauty all around us. And every time the sun comes out, I can't help but smile. Oh, no, I can't help but smile.